Hello world, I'm Chris Perillo, and this is your Geek Out for today. Apple's iPhone 5 versus Google's Nexus 4. But before I begin, let me first explain this is not necessarily about platform differences, but the respective hardware in conjunction with each particular platform. The Nexus 4 feels light, but the iPhone 5 definitely feels lighter. In terms of single-handed operation, I definitely have to struggle to move my thumb around the iPhone 5 screen. But that's an even bigger issue for me on the Nexus 4, no matter how I try to hold it. Why is single-handed operation so important? Have you ever tried to use the keyboard with one thumb on one hand? I need longer thumbs. Spec-wise, the Nexus 4 has a higher battery capacity, but each one of these devices lasted throughout the day. In fact, I'd go as far as to say the Nexus 4 did a better job at conserving battery life when I wasn't using it. It's very difficult to speak to which phone is designed better or which one looks better because, well, what looks better to me may not necessarily look better to you. I can tell you this, in terms of grip, the Nexus 4 was easier to hold onto with the soft touch around the perimeter. I may be the only one out there, but I appreciated the dots on the back of the Nexus. But I do think the back of the iPhone 5 is cleaner. Why didn't Google go with the Nexus logo rather than spelling out the word Nexus? As far as how my fingers feel on the screen, I was definitely happier with the Nexus 4. It's so smooth. Seriously, there's far less friction with the Nexus 4's glass. And the Nexus 4 definitely held on to fewer fingerprints. Not that it matters much when the screen's turned on. And in terms of each respective screen, they were both a turn on. With brightness cranked all the way up, the iPhone 5 screen was definitely a lot more vibrant in terms of color saturation. The color representation was definitely closer to real life. Unfortunately, this camera may not pick up the subtle differences, but even if you were to look at them side by side, you would see that the Nexus 4 screen colors were definitely a bit more muted. But not by much. In terms of text sharpness and legibility, I would say the iPhone 5 is a hair better than the Nexus 4. But in terms of which one has a better screen, if the average consumer could see the difference between the two, I'd be surprised. Something you may not hear a lot about, but is certainly pronounced when you see the experiences side by side is delay. When I scroll up and down inside an application on the Nexus 4, it's definitely responsive, but a hair slower than that of the iPhone 5. It's almost in lockstep here. And again, for clarification purposes. And that response time is about the same no matter which application you happen to be using on either phone. Google's getting better, but they're not out of the woods yet. One of the more pronounced differences between the iPhone 5 and the Nexus 4 and really all Android products is specifically the button, or set of buttons. The iPhone has one button. The Nexus 7, on the other hand, has 3 capacitive buttons taking up part of the screen. You may appreciate one over the other, but I can tell you these capacitive buttons got annoying at times, especially when I would mistap them. If I was holding onto the phone and accidentally brushed one, if I was swiping within a game and accidentally brushed one, The speakers on the iPhone 5 are definitely capable of producing a richer sound. The Nexus 4 speaker was incredibly tinny. Good enough for voices. Moreover, the speaker location is different on each device. With the iPhone 5, you have 2 speakers on the bottom versus the Nexus 4 with 1 speaker, a little slit, on the back. May not seem like a big deal, but do you listen to audio while your phone is laying flat on a desk? Don't worry, Bluetooth audio is supported on both platforms, plus you have the headphone jack at the top of the Nexus 4 and the headphone jack on the bottom of the iPhone 5. What about boot times? This would be a good time to tell you to subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. The Nexus 4 is definitely faster than the iPhone 5. At least as far as boot times are concerned. In terms of storage, you can get up to 64 gigs on an iPhone 5 versus a max capacity of 16 gigs on the Nexus 4. And remember, neither phone has an SD slot. So what about the cameras? While the Nexus 4's camera is not bad, it isn't great either. The iPhone 5 definitely produced sharper images, especially in low-light situations. Not to mention, on this screen or any other, the color was more accurately represented by the iPhone 5's camera. In terms of your video conferencing camera, again, the iPhone 5 produced better images. The quality of HD video recording ran along the same lines, considering we're talking about the same lenses. I mean, on each respective device. Which is to say, the iPhone 5 definitely produced better images and video. One difference between these two devices that may be a bigger deal for some of you is that the iPhone 5 is the only one between the two that supports LTE networks. I definitely didn't feel pinched by the network speeds on the Nexus 4. Here we are running BrowserMark. The animations on the iPhone 5 are definitely smoother than the animations on the Nexus 4. Watch how smoothly those boxes resize themselves. And now it's the Nexus 4's turn. The tests are still running on the Nexus 4, but the iPhone 5 is done with a total score of 2451. The site further claims that the iPhone 5 browser is superior to 97% of all phone browsers. That's what they say. Still going. And for argument's sake, before I forget, there are no special optimizations I've done on either phone. There we go. A score of 1964, besting 72% of phone browsers. Let's check in with those biased fish, shall we? Here we are with 250 fishies swimming across each screen. Can you guys see the difference? The iPhone 5 is bopping between 50 and 53 frames per second at a window size of 981 by 553 versus approximately 17 to 23 frames per second on the Nexus 4 with a window size of 980 by 509. Game performance on either phone was about the same. Here's Zenbound 2, one of my favorite games. As I twist and turn that three-dimensional object around, you can see the lighting change and a very smooth frame rate. The Nexus 4 seemed to display the same amount of quality in the graphics, but definitely dropped frames. Then again, the entire Android platform isn't exactly known for its high and consistent frame rates. The game was certainly playable on either device, but the iPhone 5 was a far more fluid experience. And for those of you wondering, that was the only app I was running at the time, and no background processes that the system didn't need. Performance in Flipboard was the same between the two devices. Very fluid page turns on the iPhone 5, and equally fluid page turns on the Nexus 4. Some applications quite simply demand more resources, while others require fewer. I realize that should go without saying, but sometimes it's the law of diminishing returns in relation to the performance you might find on either phone. The Nexus 4 was definitely a fluid experience, the best Android experience I've had to date. But what surprises me is that despite having a quad-core processor inside, it still seemed to lag behind the iPhone 5 in certain respects. And that just tells me Google still has a long way to go in terms of software optimization in relation to the hardware it's running on. In terms of ecosystems, Google's getting its story together. What most Americans may not understand is that you can get more media content through Apple's ecosystem outside the United States than you can with Google today. Still, most of the leading apps are available on either platform. Price. For $300, I can get an unlocked Nexus 4 with 16 gigs. For $649, I can get an iPhone 5 unlocked with 16 gigs. In terms of value for price plus experience, I'd have to say the Nexus 4 wins. But in terms of the price you pay for experience plus optimization, the iPhone 5's a winner. I choose both. So why might you want an iPhone 5 over a Nexus 4? You're looking for a great smartphone camera, you're looking for a great media ecosystem, you're looking for LTE support, a phone that has more than 16 gigs of storage, you have any other Apple product, and perhaps most importantly, you have friends and family who have Apple products. And I'm not speaking to peer pressure so much as I am speaking about interrelated services. Consider that I use Messages or iMessage to be able to communicate with people in my family who have iOS devices or OS X. Then there's PhotoStream, which allows me to share albums of photos with friends and family conveniently from my iPhone. And that's a part of the bigger picture you shouldn't ignore. You're not just buying a single gadget anymore. You're buying into a family of experiences that extend well beyond a single gadget. My Nexus 4 works very well with the Google TV, not with my Apple TVs. My iPhone 5 works well with my Apple TVs, not with my Google TV. So another question you may have to be asking yourself is, where are you going to use either device? Why would you want a Nexus 4 over an iPhone 5? You're looking for the best Android experience around. You only want to spend $300 on a smartphone. You already live inside of Google's world, and you love Android. And there's something I definitely need to bring up at this point. There's more of Google software available on iOS than Apple software available on the Android platform, which means I can still get a good Google experience on my iPhone 5. Remember, both companies have completely different business models. Further advantages of the iPhone 5 over the Nexus 4? Apple has retail stores, plus a better track record with customer service. Ask anybody who tried to pre-order a Nexus 4. Advantages of the Nexus 4 over the iPhone 5? NFC support without any additional accessories, plus a larger screen. My preference between the two? Both. But for completely different reasons. Each one of these phones is a winner. And if you can only choose one, understand your decision process is going to be completely different from somebody else's. It's going to be really hard for you to decide. I love this phone. And I also love this phone. That's right, I'm bi. platform. You can't go wrong with either one.